So we told you that we would be back this week with some thoughts on how to navigate seasons of pain in marriage. And we wanted to share on this right now because obviously the world is in a season of pain. We're all at home and dealing with this pandemic, and it's putting strain on all areas of life. And so we kind of felt like probably many of you in your marriage are having to navigate some new uncharted territory maybe. And we've had to do that in the past couple of years, figuring out how to navigate pain as a couple. Alan was diagnosed 2 years ago with rheumatoid arthritis, and it was pretty bad. It's been a pretty bad onset for him. And so navigating that, and then as many of you know, we made a big transition in 2019. We moved, and even when it's a good thing, it comes with grief, just the change, and it had been a long time since we've moved. So we've had to navigate a lot of grief in the past couple of years. And so we just wanted to share some tips. By no means is this an exhaustive list, but just 3 things that we feel like are really powerful in our marriage that have kept us from allowing the pain to, sever our cord together. So anyway, there's 3 things, and Alan's going to start with you first.
Yeah, so I think the first one is just simply be vulnerable. It can sometimes, it's almost odd that the person you should be the closest to in your life, sometimes you find it hard to be vulnerable with them.
Because you just think, well, they already know.
Yeah. And I think for me, and this has been a journey for me as someone that already sometimes has struggled with vulnerability, because it's kind of that thing of going, no, I'm okay. I have other people I need to help. I have other situations I need to invest in. So I'm okay. Let's just move on. But what I've learned is the power of vulnerability, especially with you, and just coming to a place, and as I've dealt with RA and navigating that, being honest with you and saying, I am not good today,
right,
or this is what's going on, and these are the emotions. I use a kind of a litmus test that I learned from a good friend, counselor, asking the question, are you mad, sad, or scared right now? Like which of those 3 areas do you fall into?
And I ask that question.
Yeah, and so you'll ask me sometimes, like, mad, sad, or scared, Dan? I'm like, I'm all 3.
Sometimes.
And so, yeah, I just think being vulnerable with your spouse, the person that the one person in your life that you should be the most vulnerable with, and to share the deep things that are hurting, and to bring those to each other. And then I think that kind of leads into the second thing,
which is be gracious, which we're all like, duh. But I think for me, this has been a journey. Well, first of all, in my own personal life, coming to an understanding of grace, which you have to have that before you can offer it. So if you haven't gone on that journey where you truly understand the grace of Jesus, I would encourage you, that's your first step, because it has to be something that you've received before you can give it. But in that, I have gone on that journey, but then with Alan's health and these things coming up that have come up that have changed the landscape of our marriage. Before that, we never really had to think about health issues, or we never had to think about diet issues. Like, it just wasn't something we had to worry with. And so I've had to learn how to recognize when he's not well, that means he's probably going to be a little bit grumpy and he's probably going to say things he doesn't actually mean, because don't we all say things we don't mean when we're not well? And it's easy, I think, especially for wives, if I can just say honestly, because we are all about our feels. And so when that happens, I want to be like, we need to talk about this. You hurt my feelings and you can't talk to me that way. But grace has taught me just to let it go, because I know that when he comes out of that, flare up, or that's not who he is. And he's probably going to come to me and be like, I think I was probably grouchy and I'm sorry. And then we move on, and it's not a big thing that we had to work out because he wasn't well. And so grace is, we all want to receive grace, but giving grace can be a lot harder, but especially in marriage, and especially when things are hard and there's pain. All of us kind of go into survival mode when we're having to process and deal with pain. And so those are the seasons when we really need to give more grace. And the Bible tells us that God gives us grace for the season that we're in. And so I remembered that too, that as we've gone into this season, I'm like, okay, this is a new thing we're having to deal with. God will give us the grace to deal with it. And so That's been really powerful, I think.
Yeah, and I think too in that grace for as a guy, because guys want to fix it. And so if you come to me and you're vulnerable about something, my initial go-to is, oh, okay, you were vulnerable, you told me you're dealing with this thing, so now I got to fix it. Where if I can just give you grace and empathize with you in that and go, no, I hear what you're saying. I don't have a solution, and that's okay, but I hear you and I love you, and I want to extend grace to you. And I think that's really powerful as a for a guy to do that instead of going, all right, well, here's the 10 things you could do to fix that.
Don't do that.
Yeah. And so I think in both of those, so be vulnerable, be gracious, and then I think it's all wrapped up in being intentional. And it's very easy when you're in a season of pain to not be intentional because you're kind of just living in the moment.
Yeah.
You're just taking things as they come, but being intentional to rekindle sometimes and to live out love for each other. We talk about the 5 love languages that most everybody is familiar with, and yours is words, and mine is physical touch.
Are we surprised?
So,
no offense, guys, but isn't that every guy's love language?
I'm going to talk to you right now. Can you just touch me? Just touch me right now. No, just touch. It's
That's all he wants. He just wants me to touch him.
But no, I think it's like in a season like this, it's really easy for me to crave what I want, but not be intentional about giving what you need.
Same for both of us, yeah. Because when you're in pain, you need more. You're needy, and that's okay because you're in pain. But yeah, it takes intentionality. When things are going great, it's easier to think about our spouse in those, terms of like, how can I show my love for him or her? But when things are hard, and we're not talking about, hard because we've done something wrong to each other, but like we said, health issues, moving, and just the things that come with that. Those are the times when it's harder to think about what can I do today to express my love. And I think we build up these expectations that it has to be some grandiose gesture, and it doesn't. Like when you're in those seasons, like when he's not well, I don't expect him to rally and take me out on some kind of extravagant date. That would be an unfair expectation for me of him. So intentionality doesn't always mean some big grand gesture. It's the everyday things that you're doing that build up. It's like a storehouse. And I think that's important with being intentional. If we're being intentional on a regular basis, it is kind of like a storehouse. And so when there's a day that he's not well, he doesn't have it to give me, but I have all this behind me. I'm like, well, I know he loves me. I know how he feels about me. He's not well right now, but that's not who he is. And that's not him communicating to me that he doesn't love me. And so I think it's just a daily, intentional, saying it out loud, doing it, even though they know, do it anyway.
Yeah. So be vulnerable, be gracious, and be intentional. And, regardless of what the season of pain is that you're in right now, doing those 3 things, I think, are huge steps in protecting what God has given you, your spouse. And so I just want to encourage you in that time, in those things. And we'd love to hear, maybe there's some neat things that you as a couple have experienced in seasons of pain. We'd love to hear from you. Like, what are those things that you're doing? What have you found that have really sustained your marriage during times of pain and transition and all of that? So hit us up, email us, message us, comment, whatever. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So we want to encourage you in this season that the world's in to we're forced to be at home. So use the time to turn inward towards each other and let Jesus be in the middle of that. And don't let this be a time that creates a rift in your marriage, but actually that you come out of it and go, wow, that was a lot of pain and uncertainty, but it actually drew us closer together, because that can happen if we bring Jesus into the middle of it. So, all right, friends, that's it for today. You guys have a great, it's Friday when we film this, so have a great weekend. But if you're watching this on another day, just have a great day.
See you later.